Welcome to the 14th day of Elul. We're in the Boise Elliott Native Grove, and I've been thinking a lot about the shofar being possibly the most ancient instrument used by humans. We don't have them archaeologically because horn doesn't last as long as bone does. There are bone flutes. It may be older than the drum. It's as old as hunting. It's older than shepherding. Certainly, when people start being pastoralists, it's a raw material. It's just around all the time. There's something so natural about it. And it's not exactly a musical instrument, though. You don't dance to the shofar particularly. It is a thing that has no life until we breathe into it. We breathe into it and we give it meaning. Just as the Torah is also made of parts of a sheep, but it doesn't have meaning until we breathe meaning into it.
Right, well, in fact, the Torah itself is written without vowels, so until we voice it, it doesn't even have a sound. The same way that the ram's horn doesn't have a voice of its own. I mean, the goat or the sheep had a voice, and that was silenced. The breath of the divine is blown into us, and then we in turn blow it through the hollowness of the ram's horn in order to give it voice again, the same way we, with our breath, imbue the vowels into the Torah scroll to chant it, to give it song and voice, and then meaning as well.
I keep remembering that at Mount Sinai, there was the sound of thunder, and there was the sound of earthquake, and there was the sound of a huge shofar. It's like it wasn't drums, it wasn't trumpets. It was the shofar. The shofar is this incredibly elemental voice, and we recreate that divine voice by giving breath to the sheep, or in my case, to the Chem's book.
But there's also this, if I recall correctly, it wasn't just that people heard the shofar. They saw the sound of the shofar. There was a synesthesia that went on so that they could see the actual sound. So even if you're a person who's non-hearing, you have the potential to be able to hear the shofar. The shofar, it's funny, the sounding of the shofar itself is not a mitzvah, but the hearing of the shofar is a mitzvah. I mean, the sounding of the shofar is a mitzvah in that it allows people to hear it. But to be able to hear the shofar, that's the mitzvah. It's available to everyone, whether you can make the sound or not. You don't need to have a special skill to be able to hear the shofar. And even again, if you're a non-hearing person, because of that vibration and the synesthesia of potentially being able to see the sound or feel it in your bones, you still get a chance to hear the shofar.
Just as in the reading of the Torah, the person reading the Torah doesn't get the credit. It's the person blessing the Torah. They're named and they're brought up in a special way, and then somebody reads it, because that special skill is not the important thing, the skill of reading the Torah. It's the skill of blessing the Torah and coming to the Torah that everybody can do.
To come up, to raise yourself up to the Torah, to bring yourself forward toward the Torah. And this month of Elul, when we're sitting in contemplation, and we are right at the full moon tonight, so there's a full moon. We're the 14th of Elul, right in smack in the middle of it, halfway there. It's a super moon. It's known as the corn moon and the harvest moon, and a bunch of different cultures have celebrations where they return to their ancestors.
Really interesting. Yeah.
In Korea, in China, Vietnam,
India.
And in native cultures, and I think on the Algonquin tribe, all of these people return to their ancestors. It's like the salmon are returning home, and we're returning to our culture. We're returning to ourselves. And so in this middle of the month, the super moon, there's also an eclipse tonight. We're probably not going to see it in Oregon. It's only like 1/8 or 8% of the moon will be covered.
A little bite.
But it would matter. Like if you were in ancient times and you saw the moon going away and you didn't understand possibly what that was about.
Play the shofar.
You play the shofar.
And chase it away.
And then the moon comes back. So that's happening this evening. So there's this amazing astronomical occurrence happening right now. We are in the process of finding ourselves, returning to our heritage, or our ancestors, however you want to frame that, returning to our ancestral traditions. And part of that, it occurs to me, is like emptying ourselves out, making ourselves hollow so that the breath of the divine can come through us.
Ooh, nice.
So I think this is a beautiful way of coming to the fullness of the moon, which is, intentions that we set at the new moon often come into fruition at this time, and then we let go. We release that back into the universe. The same way that the moon gets swallowed a little bit and then it comes back and then it goes away. It starts to wane at this time of the month till we go back into the darkness. So there's a lot of stuff going on just today, this 14th day of Elul.
I'm just reminded on the synesthesia thing at Sinai that the people say, we will do and we will hear, rather than we will hear and we will do.
Right. So we will do first, and then we will be able to understand. Because we'll do and then we'll understand.
Do and understand?
We'll do and we'll understand, yeah. So we'll do it first, and then we'll obey? Is it obey? I can't remember the Hebrew word for it, but we'll do and then we'll obey. So there's something about starting out, taking a step forward that gives us the ability to comprehend, or we'll do and we'll see? Is that it? I can't remember exactly.
Now.
We can look it up.
We will.
But it's the doing that initiates the comprehension and the being able to see forward and to be able to hear clearly. And you were talking also about this idea of liminal space, like
right.
those spaces between that are the most magical. And yeah, like
the inside of there's the inside of the house, there's the outside of the house, but the hearth, the fireplace is in between. It's both inside and outside, and that's the magical part of the house.
And the same way, like any doorway is a magical portal. It's a portal, but like we put our mezuzot on the doorposts to remind us of the divine as we walk through it. So we're in this liminal space of Elul between the fullness of the year, this month where we don't have any special holidays except for Shabbat, where we're getting ready to go into the new year. So we're in this liminal space too. And the shofar has that liminal space where before we start to sound it, when we take that breath in and then we pause, that's that liminal space. And then as we're sounding the shofar, there's this point in the center, like the center of the month, where it peaks and then it starts to fall away. That's also a magical space. And at the end, when we stop, there's this silence. It gives us also that magical liminal space.
That every blast of the shofar is like a cycle of the moon.
Yeah.
Never thought of it.
Well, every breath.
Also.
Every breath.
Every breath is like a breath.
Okay, let's take some breaths and make some noise.
Tikia. Shavarim. Tikia.
Tikia. Trua. Tikia.
Tikia. Shvarim Trua. Tikia.
Tikia. Shvarim. Tikia.
Tikia. Trua. Tikia.
Happy full moon, happy 14th of Elul, and we will see you tomorrow.